And just one I did mention, and I also have a pine tree that's about 30-odd feet high, and I'd like to lower that by a third. Is that practical?
It's very hard because pine trees go like a sort of an umbrella.
Yes,
if you take too much off the top, you'll end up causing it to fall into decline. Things you can do, you can crown clean it, taking out the dead wood, taking out a selective percentage amount of crown in the top.
Yeah.
But if the tree's healthy and it's causing no problems, I wouldn't try and reduce it too much because you lose the overall effect.
Righty-ho, I guess that. The shape wouldn't recover to anything sensible, would it?
No, not really. Not if you took more than sort of 10-15% off.
Jeff, thank you for your call today on the eucalyptus and the pine. Ken is in Swanley. Hello, Ken.
Hello, good morning to you both.
Tell us about your silver birch, please.
Yes, it's a silver birch. It's 50 years old. We planted it when we moved here. It's approximately 15 to 16 metres high, and the girth at waist height is 1.7 metres. And my question is, will it get any bigger? How long do they live? And are the roots terribly invasive?
All right, let's start with bigger, first of all, Mike.
It's a bit like asking him how long's a piece of string is.
I was going to say, you took the words out of my mouth, Steve. It will get bigger. I mean, generally that sort of size, it'll tend to get bigger in crown spread and diameter. Height-wise, has it had any pruning on it?
No.
No, okay, so it's a sort of natural form and shape. It probably will get bigger, it will get wider, but that's really all I can tell you. The overall side, they're only silver birch are generally planted as a nurse stock to sort of protect and shelter other trees, so they don't have a great general long-term lifespan, and they do tend to fall into decline once they get sort of big and wide.
So it might be at its peak now, Mark, 50 years maybe?
Yeah, it depends on the conditions of where it is, the environment it's under. If it's in good growing conditions, it's got plenty more years left in it, unfortunately for you.
Ken, you wanted to ask about the roots. Whereabouts is the tree situated, please?
It's about 18 metres from the house, but it's quite adjacent to my garage drive, and it's lifted the pavings somewhat. I'm not too concerned about it,
No, the general root growth is going to cause a little bit of movement. It's not substance heat by the sounds of things, although, without knowing what the soil type is, you wouldn't know that. But just the general root expansion will cause movement of anything around it, gravel, slabs, concrete.
And they're shallow-rooted anyway, they tend to be,
they're quite shallow-rooted. Have you got roots in the lawn at the other side of it?
No.
No. Okay, so it is...
They'll come, believe us, they'll come.
No, I get that from my golden elm.
Yeah.
All right, Ken.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for your help.
Thanks for your call today.
Go on. Just enjoy it while it's there.
Yeah. All right, Ken in Swanley with his silver birch planted as long as they've been in the house. Now, here's an email for you, Mark and Steve, from Derek Stevenson. This is an interesting one. My neighbours and I live in houses surrounding the local school. When the school was built in 1970, trees planted included alders, ash, poplars, etc. They were planted about 10 to 15 feet from our boundaries. Now, many of these trees, as you might imagine, are now over 70 and 80 feet in high, blocking out much daylight, with roots growing under lawns, some of the roots up to 35 mil thick. One of the alders, which looks as if it is dying, has had a permanent lean on it for the last 15 years, and every year the lean towards the property gets worse. We're also concerned about branches, trees falling and injuring, or worse, especially with these high winds that we've had over the last week or so, says Derek. We are informed that KCC inspect these trees every 12 months, but all that seems to happen is that contractors turn up for a few hours, lop off a few small branches, and then leave. Many dead branches are still left. Can you give us any advice, says Derek? Mark, let's start with you.
Yeah, Derek, what I would do is, again, speak to the school first off and voice your concerns, and then get hold of the local authority or county council tree officer who's responsible for schools and voice your concerns directly to him. What it sounds like, I mean, most schools do have a safety audit policy of inspecting the trees, but as a result of that, you've probably got the contractors coming around and lopping a few overhanging branches off, which is not really addressing the problem. What I would do is to, again, talk to the local authority, the KCC man responsible for the trees. If you've still got concerns, I would look to find a consultant acting on your behalf who could go into the school with their permission and inspect the trees and give a second opinion.
And maybe Derek and his neighbours could actually get together and hire the consultant.
Definitely. I would do it in a nice, friendly sort of way, because you've got concerns. If they're close to your property and they're overhanging and they're shading your property, and also if the roots are constituting a trespass now, you've definitely got some concerns. But I would go and speak to the school and then take it further from there.
Steve?
Well, it's obviously in everybody's interest to get it right, because there's the safety of the children as well as the safety of its property. The other thing to bear in mind, it's all right saying that the contractors just come and lop a few branches off. They will only do the work they've been told to carry out, and really it's whoever commissions the work, they should inspect before the work's done to tell them what to do, and also inspect afterwards to make sure that work's done. So, you know, I know it's dead easy to blame the fellow that's got the saw in his hand, but he's usually just doing what he's been told to do.
All right, Mark, we've kept you a bit longer than we promised, so apologies for that. Let's have a quick word with Pat, who's in Aylesford. Hello, Pat.
Oh, hello.
What can we do for you?
Well, I've got this handkerchief tree. It's at the top of the garden. It's 25 to 30 foot, maybe 30 to 40 foot high. I put it in some years ago. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful shape. And what I'm concerned about, the trunk, by the way, is about, it's quite big, 30 plus, the trunk, inches. And what I am worried about is the fact that the suckers now are appearing everywhere. I can even see them over my neighbours' gardens around me. It's about 70 foot, as I said, from the house. But when does it stop travelling, and how dangerous is it? Will I have to have it down?
All right, Mark.
The suckers, are they coming from rootstock through the ground?
Sorry, yes.
Or are they seeds that are self-seeded off the tree itself?
No, they are actually, I think, coming from the tree itself.
You just need to check that, though, don't you?
Yeah, you do need to check that, and do check that they're actually from that parent tree, the handkerchief tree itself. It might be similar juvenile suckers that have come from other trees, but make sure that's
no, it's definitely from that one.
Okay, fine. You'd have to just prune them out by hand.
Yes, this is what I've been doing actually.
Okay. Unfortunately, that just sometimes can exacerbate the problem, make it worse, and make the sucker more. Long term, perhaps it may be a bit of area work to the Crown to keep it in check, but it's not overhanging the neighbours' properties as well, is it?
Well, it's right up in the corner, so it's overhanging mine, next doors, and over the back. But nobody complains, you know.
If nobody's complaining, it's just one of those things. I mean, you can try and prune it, but if it's not causing complaint to your neighbours and they're enjoying the beauty of the tree, I just put up with the suckering.
Yeah.
What size are the suckers, could I ask?
Well, I have seen them actually come up. The fence at the back is about 6 foot or more, and I've seen the suckers come up from, you know, when I've looked over, I could see them coming up.
Right.
But I've told them to cut them off, you know.
Well, one suggestion, and I've heard of somebody doing this, and they said it worked. You know these rooting powders that you can get if you're taking cuttings?
That's right.
Well,
yes.
What I've heard of people do, because they encourage roots rather than shoot growth,
yes.
I've heard of where people have cut the suckers off,
yes.
Level with the root, and then painted the wound with this rooting hormone,
all right.
which tends to discourage suckers coming from that point again.
All right.
Now, I don't understand the science behind this, and I've only ever heard one person tell me about it.
Yes.
And I know that tree surgeons, they can actually get various things to suppress suckers, but we can't get those as amateurs. You got any thoughts on that, Mark?
Yeah, no, I have heard of that. I just, thinking back, what a root hormone powder does, it changes the morphology of the growing point and creates a root zone, which then obviously goes down. So that might be an option for you.
Oh, it's worth trying, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Pat.
Right. Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks for your call today. It's Pat in Aylesford with the handkerchief tree. And Mark, thanks so much for coming in today and getting us underway for 3 o'clock next Saturday. Just one final point about the right to light when it comes to trees, because it's a really common complaint from people. That tree in my neighbour's garden is blocking out light, shading our house, it's shading my garden. There is no right to light.
There is actually no right to light. I mean, recently there's been a High Hedges Act that's come in that the local authority is aware of. So if somebody's planted a hedge, you will have some recompense to see if they can get that cut back or reduced. Hedges don't need to be higher than the sort of the second floor, first floor window. And if there's a problem, I would always try and speak to the neighbour first as to area problems and concerns, and then see if you can come to an amicable solution rather than going down the legal route. If you have to, that's obviously a route you can go down with the local authority.
Or move to Scotland where there is a right to light.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Mark, lovely to see you.
Pleasure.
Thanks for coming in today. East Country surgeon Mark Jones here on the programme today in the run-up to BBC 3 o'clock. Now,